Continuing on in our crypto country review, we go to the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, which some of the lesser known Caribbean islands. You probably recently heard of them because they were ravaged by one of the hurricanes this past fall, but it's really an interesting place, and it's a good alternative to start a crypto business for a few reasons, which I'll go into. So you have two structures basically in Nevis. You've got the International Business Corporation, the IBC, and an LLC, much similar to the LLCs that you find here in the States. And the IBC really doesn't offer you a great deal of anything, so I usually would say ignore that. But the LLC, the Nevis LLC, does, and there are a number of advantages. First of all, with respect to ownership of the LLC, that LLC can be owned by a corporation, it can be owned by a trust, it can be owned by any other entity, it can be owned by an individual, and it even allows for nominee members, right? So, so-called straw members. And there is no public registry with respect to a Nevis LLC. So there's no way to really find out, if you're looking for the privacy aspect, where ownership lies in a Nevis LLC, which is great for some people. And that's not something you're going to see like in the Cayman Islands or something like that, where it's more readily available. Beyond that, there's some asset protection elements to it. And then the Nevis LLC is really akin to a lot of the offshore trust structures, even similar to the Cook Islands, which I've talked about before, where you've got a manager and the members are like the de facto beneficiaries, much like a trustee, and then the beneficiaries of a trust. But in Nevis, a foreign judgment is not recognized, meaning if there was a judgment obtained against the Nevis LLC in a different country, you couldn't simply go to domesticate that judgment. You'd have to refile. And the standard for proving fraud and other similar causes of action are beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a higher standard than what you see here in the United States, which is by preponderance evidence. In addition, the statute of limitations for most types of cases are much shorter, meaning by the time that you got through, for instance, here, in Chicago and Illinois, where your statute of limitations for certain fraud is 4 years, by the time you conceivably worked your way through the court system in this jurisdiction, you've probably already spent 2-3 years, and the statute of limitations is 2 years in Nevis, and therefore it'd be expired. So you'd be barred from bringing those claims if you had to go down to Nevis and actually litigate. And in addition, Nevis requires a bond, which is one of the few Caribbean nations that do, in order to prosecute a suit. So, and they operate on the English set of common law, where the loser of litigation is typically liable to the prosecutor of litigation for their legal fees, in the event that occurs. So there's a lot of walls, there's a lot of hurdles that you have to jump through to really execute a judgment against a Nevis LLC. So it makes it a really great asset protection vehicle, not to mention the fact that the ownership is decidedly private or can be multi-layered with structures in other countries that could further complicate the recovery process. So it's very great in those respects. In addition, you also have the tax-free status. Taxes only inures to the members of the LLC, which are undoubtedly almost never going to be in Nevis. So there's really no significant tax implication on the LLC because it's effectively tax-free. As far as costs, the formation costs are relatively low. They're some of the lower costs, and I think Nevis has done a great deal in the last 10-15 years to try to become an offshore jurisdiction, a leading offshore jurisdiction. So the costs are low; they're on par with Belize. But in the event that you fail to keep up with the annual registration, the penalties can be harsh. They can range in the $5,000 range, which really almost motivates you to just simply create a new company to the extent you could. So it's, in all, one of the stronger locales. The cost is great, and the ease of formation is ideal with with the runners, if you want to call them that we've used in the past, who have to hand file the documents, get the apostles and whatnot on the ground in Charlestown, which is the capital of Nevis. You've never been there, which you probably haven't. You can get that done in 48 to 72 hours. So, in all, it's a great alternative to the Cayman Islands, especially in terms of cost and privacy. Decidedly has better asset protection than like a Cayman Islands. Very close to Belize, a little more, I guess, friendly because it is part of the Eastern Caribbean nations block, but still definitely a place that I would recommend and do recommend for a lot of my clients who are looking to create a crypto-based business offshore. So until next time, check me out, tracyfirm.com, and I'll talk to you later.
Flirting with this disaster became me. It